And you are live.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you all
E-
for taking time on this snowy evening to have this discussion. I really do appreciate you all making time other than our usual meeting time. Um, I do want to say good evening to all of the people who are watching on YouTube. I would imagine that there are many, many. I don't know whether we can tell how many. Madeline, can we tell how many people are watching?
Um, yes, but it'll change throughout the meeting.
Okay, well, how many people are watching right now?
It says just one, which might be
Oh,
me.
oh, okay. All right. So, um,
Now we can talk.
But they are also recorded so people can watch them after the fact.
yes, yes, but I am surprised that it's only one. Okay, so, well, then we should get right to it. If there aren't very many people here. I will say that we did get over 400 um, comments on the comment line, and I sent you all a number of them. So you should have most of them. There are a few more that came in the last couple days, and I've read them, but I didn't have a chance to send them all to you. So I apologize for that. But I will. I'll make sure that you get them all. It just takes a minute because I have to download them and then all of that stuff. So, Mr. Secretary, can you do the roll call?
Yes. Lynn,
Here.
David,
Here. She's having sound problems, but I know she's here, but she'll come back hopefully. She
yeah,
doesn't sound.
as am I, so I can't, as am I, so I can't tell. Jim,
Here.
Cynthia,
Present.
Barbara,
Here.
and Krissa.
Here.
Awesome. That's everyone, right? Thank you all. Um, so the purpose of this meeting this evening is to move forward and determine next steps on in the RFQ process for the Westgate Circle project. Um, I hope that you will all note that the purpose of the meeting is to move forward. We've heard from a number of residents around the city, and none of them are apparently here. So I was going to say that we wanted to thank them for all of their comments. And if you all have read them, you'll notice that some people have given it a great deal of thought. And we do appreciate that. Let's see. And it was interesting to see some of the people who responded. There were lots of names that we recognized and then some that I did not recognize. So I'm glad to see that we were reaching more than just the usual voices in town. So that was great to hear. Um, so if I could just start at the very core of this and say that the purpose of an RFQ is to gather information about the qualifications of persons who may want to submit a proposal. It saves a step for not only the applicant, but also for the reviewers because it ends up that you don't review applications for organizations that are not that do not meet the qualifications of the work that needs to be done. Normally, the qualifications are a long list of things that are listed in the RFQ, um, and the to become an applicant, you must meet all of them. And so that's how you develop the short list, is that everyone who qualifies is then invited to submit an application. You all are probably familiar with this process because it is the process they used for the garage. So when they did the Hillman garage, they had a request for qualifications. There were several organizations that were qualified. They were all invited back to submit a proposal, and then the selection was made from those. And that's customarily and in practice, that is the normal process for an RFQ. The other thing that I'll mention that's really important is that we have not secured the funding, and that is a major concern to me. So we allocated the $50,000 from last year's budget, and we set that aside. But we have not determined how else we would pay for the project. And that, I think, we need to know very soon. And so I don't think that we want to, and then the commission, this is completely up to the commission. I'm not sure that we would want to take all of the funds that we get in our annual budget to commit to this project. I'm not sure that that's what we would want to do. But, and it would be difficult for us to do that because then a lot of other things would not happen that normally happen around the city. Unfortunately, we are too late this year to request a bond bill or a state budget or a state grant in the state budget. But I certainly see that as a realistic way to get the funds to complete the project. So, and we would, if we got a bond bill and we had a matching requirement, then at least we have the $50,000 as a match, and we would maybe have to add another 50 to that at least. But if we get just a state grant, then we won't have to necessarily have a match. And not every bond bill requires a match either. So I think that one of the things that we should begin to do after this legislative session ends is to work with our delegation to ask them to put in a proposal for a state grant, and if we don't get a state grant, then for a bond bill. I know that we had talked several times, and Joe, you can jump in here, about the Maryland State Arts Council and the funding that they provide. I did go on their website to do some research. So they have a couple of different grant programs. One of them is specifically for projects, and that it is intended to support specific projects, events, or programs. And it can go to an artist or to an organization, but those grants only go up to $4,000. So they're from $1,000 to $4,000. They do have an operating grant that they offer to organizations for operating support. We could use that maybe as a part to help us fund a planning process if we thought about that later on down the road. But that is up to $10,000. So I think that the state budget or the bond bill is going to be the way to go to fund the project. But I will stop there and ask if anyone has any questions. There is going to be an opportunity for all of you to share your comments, your thoughts, after we hear from the city's procurement officer. But if anybody has any questions, I welcome them at this point. All righty. So, Mike Garcia, am I saying that correctly? Oops, Mike, you're on. Okay, there you go. Am I saying that correctly, Mike? Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Can you go out and then come back in maybe? Oh, there we go. Yay, it's connecting. Yay. Okay, can you hear us now, Mike?
I'm feeling he can hear us, but we just can't hear him.
Yeah, can you go out and come back in? It said you were connecting audio, but it didn't, I guess it didn't work. Because we cannot hear you.
Is there a chat function here?
Is his mute button on?
Mm-mm.
No, it's-
No. And
I'm-
it says he's connecting,
I'm gonna
so
go ahead and send him an email just so that he can give me a call if he's having any trouble.
okay. Okay, thanks, Madeline.
I don't see if there's a chat function in this, but I don't see one for this particular meeting. I know we could at least find out they can hear us, but I don't see it.
I think he can hear us because he tried to unmute when I called him, when I said his name, so
All right. Okay.
yeah.
So I know he's been trying to connect the audio since the meeting started, so I've been checking that out.
Oh,
So I was
really?
wondering-
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't see that part.
yeah. I'm just wondering if and it's a little thing that a little ellipses
Yeah, I
going
see
on.
the
I was like,
three
okay,
little things
Yeah.
jumping up and down.
okay.
Well, the good news is you sent us his comments
Yes.
prior to this meeting, and I thought they were very helpful. They clarified a little bit about what we need to do.
Right. I do want it on the record, so I'm hoping he can connect because I want it to be a part of the recording. And I did, I'll go ahead and just talk until he gets on the line. I did speak with him this afternoon. And you all do have his recommendations. I did share them with all of you. And when I spoke with him this afternoon, his final recommendation is that we begin again. And restart the process from the very beginning. And so he can Mike. Oh shoot, we still can't hear you. Oh, wait, is that him on the phone?
That was gonna be my question.
Probably.
No, it's me.
Who's that? Oh, Genevieve. Okay.
Genevieve, you have a call-in number too?
No, they're saying. Yeah. You mean, do you want me to use the call-in number or?
No,
No, we can hear you
no,
fine.
Same time that
Okay.
you came on, a phone number came on.
No, I didn't use the call-in number. Krista does. Is she on yet?
Yeah, she's here.
Yeah, Chris is
Yeah,
on.
I'm here.
So-
Are you
so-
using?
Just a reminder that if he wants to mute or, it's *6. If he's calling in, it's *6. So to mute or to unmute.
Right. So, Mike, Mike, is that you?
Can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yay! Okay.
Hey, hang on one
Awesome.
second. I'm sorry. Let me get this
No,
out.
that's,
You guys-
that's fine.
Sorry about that.
You're here. Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty. So, Mike, I kind of went over your recommendations, but I want it to be on the
Okay.
record and recorded. So we
Okay.
had a conversation this afternoon, but I'd love for the entire commission to hear your thoughts.
Okay. My first question is, do you have the money encumbered if we do put an RFQ out to pay the stipend? Now, the process, when you do a solicitation, it is mandated that the money has been encumbered. What I mean is available to disperse. Now, do you have money right now if we put an RFQ out and we shortlisted the firms, do you have adequate funding to give the stipend checks? Yes or no?
To pay for the full project, including the installation, no, we do not.
Okay, now, let me ask this question. If we put the RFQ out and I know there's a stipend that is attached to it. So let's say the stipend, I'm not sure what it is. Do you have enough money to pay the stipend to the shortlisted firms? Yes or no?
Yes, we do have that.
Okay. What you
It's
could
$2,500.
do here. Okay. Now, What
each.
I would, okay, there's two pathways we can go here. And Lynn and I talked, I think, based on the way the RFQ is written, I don't think, if you, again, correct me if I'm wrong here, if you're uncomfortable with the RFQ the way it's written, what I would do is I would basically cancel it and start over. I think there's some questions on the RFQ, you know, on interpretation of things. I know I have not sent any letters out, basically disqualifying anybody or qualifying anybody. So no one at this time, our shortlisted firms have not been notified. Now, I think there was a question on one of the applicants, the offers, was shortlisted, but he was out of the geographical area. Am I correct on that?
Yes, and then one of them sent an email saying they wanted to withdraw their proposal. So
Okay.
the Coleman
I think
proposal, yeah, they sent an email
Okay.
asking to withdraw their proposal. But
Okay, I tell you what I would
didn't accept them.
recommend.
Can I
I
ask
did-
a question before we go forward?
Sure, Krista.
This is Krista. Regarding the artist who withdrew,
Mhm.
do we have any right to ask them not to withdraw? Like, can we
No,
say
you
no,
do-
we're not
you-
going to
you-
accept your withdrawal?
No, we
you can't.
do
You can't
not.
do that. No,
Mm-mm. No,
no.
if they don't
You can't do that.
if they don't want to do the
Okay.
project, we can't force them to do it. We don't have
Right.
a contract with them.
Now,
Yeah.
right
If we-
now, what?
Yeah.
Now, what? Let me explain how that works right now. If you do a solicitation, let's say an IFB or something, and you basically have the lowest responsible bidder, he submits a bid, and then he says, "I want to withdraw that bid." Typically, you put what you call a bid bond in. What a bid bond is, it basically ensures that if someone withdraws from an invitation for bid, that we can go into the bid bond and we can basically, the city would be compensated for the amount of that bid, and basically that would be awarded. Now, with an RFQ and an RFP, the RFQ is a qualifier. It is not an intent to award. It is not a basis to award. What it does, it pre-qualifies firms. It gives them the opportunity, if they decide to withdraw in an RFQ, the city has no say-so on that, yes or no. If they want to withdraw, that's fine. What you do is you look at your other firms that you basically have reviewed, and you go to the next qualified firm. What I would recommend is that I would basically cancel this RFQ and basically redevelop a new RFQ and then put it on the street. Now, the second thing is define, make it more definitive. Now, I'm very risk adverse. Let me tell you, and again, typically when I do a solicitation and I look at the, state laws, federal laws, and everything else, I personally cannot, and I can be overruled on this, I cannot restrict anyone in the U.S. from basically not submitting a bid. Now, I know if there are other things written, like I said, let's say you get money, and the money comes from some agency or something else. If it has earmarked on those funds that funds will be only dispersed if you award within a geographic. As long as it's law, it's fine. But again, I can be overruled on that. But I don't want to get lost in that. But what I would do right now, looking at everything, I think I would basically rewrite the RFQ and then put the language you want in there, have the Office of Law in the City of Annapolis look at it and vet it and make sure we are not doing anything out of the ordinary. Once the Office of Law vets it, then we're good to go.
David, you had your hand up. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I guess my question was in order, and kind of sort of answered it, but just in order to avoid some of the drama, what changes would you recommend to the RFQ? Because I mean, I guess subjective in terms of location and not location. And I'm not a legal expert, so I'm not quite sure, what would you suggest the RFQ say in order to kind of make things, go down an easier path?
What I would do is I would sit down with a committee, everybody there, and let's basically put something together. And if you want to put in there geographical location preferences, that's fine. But I want the Office of Law to look at this and tell us that we're okay to go with it right there. So I think I would rewrite it. I have a different writing style on things, and I'm not just no reflection on anybody, but let's rewrite this and make it more, I'm gonna say, definitive, and let the committee look at it. Then we'll send the Office of Law, let Ashley and Michael look at it, and once they approve it, then we'll put it on the street there. Now, you can, if you want to, that's your prerogative. If you want to put in there restrictions on geographical locations, let's be clear on that. What that restriction is, brother.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not going to advocate that, but again, if you want to do it, we can do it that way. But as long as the Office of Law says it's okay, then I'm fine with it.
I have a
Genevieve?
question with
Oh,
regards
go ahead,
to
Krista.
the
I'm
other
sorry.
people.
Go ahead.
Oh,
sorry.
I have a question with regards to the other two sculptures and those two artists. This may be a question for Ashley. Legally at this point, and we're not completed the process, right? We haven't, listened to all their presentations and all of that. We're kind of like catching this before that launch of the process. Probably due to a lot of the comments that were coming in, and also for that sculpture, that one artist that withdrew, which was really, really unfortunate, I feel. And that was, I think, largely because of a lot of things that happened in the public comments. But my question is, legally, at this point, do the two other artists have any recourse to say, hey, wait a minute, you were going to pick 3, you picked 3, 1 now dropped out, so now you're not going to look at the other 2 and you're going to start from scratch again? Now, you're stating that we have the right to start from scratch again, but my question is, do they have any kind of recourse legally to say that that isn't done appropriately?
Ashley, you want to answer that?
The short answer is no. Procurement process are at the discretion of the procuring governmental agency. You're not guaranteed anything until there is a signed, executed contract. We always reserve the right to do what is in our best interests with regards to the procurement. So no, they do not. The only thing at this point that we probably might lose is because we've already paid them their stipends. I don't know if we can request those back, but beyond that, that would be it.
Okay, great. Thank you. That answers one of my questions for tonight. Thanks so much,
Chris,
Ashley.
And just so you know, we would not ask for the stipends back. So we would not
Right.
request those.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't think
Yeah.
we would do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Genevieve,
Thanks,
go
Lynn.
ahead. You have a question.
Yes, thank you. So I want to understand specifically, and I think it should be outlined and not vague, as to the specific reasons in the RFQ that are controversial or causing issues, so we can have it as public record as to why we would cancel out the current RFQ.
We will submit a letter to the public that announces why we've made this decision.
Okay, but can we now understand as a commission why we would be canceling an RFQ? Because I'm not. Yes, I would like to hear from Mike. Thank you.
When you do a cancellation, it's in the best interest of the city. And as I said, it's at our discretion. So I've canceled in the past solicitations, and what I do is I put a public notice out. This solicitation being canceled because it's in the best interest of the city of, I used to do it in Richmond. I would say it's the best interest of the city of Annapolis. And we'll leave it at that right there. like Ashley said, we have not awarded the contract. We are not obligated. We've not. I'm not contacting anybody. And again, if we awarded the contract and we come back and say, hey guys, we're going to put a contract back, that could be a little bit dicey right there. But since we have not awarded the contract, we're still in a solicitation period. The city reserves a right to pull back the solicitation.
Okay, thank you. I understand that, but I still don't understand the specific reasons why the commission would vote to cancel the current RFQ. What are the
Now, what you
issues
can't- Yeah, okay.
in the RFQ?
Now, okay, you got a good point there. Here's another recommendation I made here. If you want to go forward with this RFQ, actually, I don't see any reason not to. Now, I'm getting on the basic tail end of this here. I understand that you did have one artist that reside in Atlanta, Georgia, and you had one. You just had one pull out, so you basically have two right now.
But
which
hang on,
I
Mike.
have
Hang
not
on. No, wait.
enfor-
Hang on, Mike. The real issue here is that from my perspective, and Ashley, you can answer this as well, is that all of the qualifying applicant or respondents to the RFQ were not invited to submit a proposal. That for me, that's the biggest thing.
Okay, let me back up a minute. When you put an RFQ out, people respond to the RFQ. Now, you can reach out to them and say, hey, I've got an RFQ here. That doesn't guarantee that they're going to basically be shortlisted. So let me ask this, what do you mean that they have not been able to respond to it? Because if the RFQ is made public, anybody can go and look at it there.
No, what I'm saying is, so people responded. We had 42 responses to the RFQ.
Okay.
Okay. And many of those organizations or many of those artists would have been qualified to submit a proposal. What happened was only 3 of them were invited to submit a proposal. Not everyone
let me ask.
Right,
okay.
right. And they were paid a stipend.
Okay, let me ask this.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you guys send out what are called declination letters to the ones that responded that were not selected? Was those letters sent out?
Yes, that was done by a third party, the Arts Council. They are the ones who have administrated the whole process. We did not administrate it. And it was an RFQ, so it was based on qualifications and it was narrowed down.
Correct.
And then the selection committee chose from those qualified that were narrowed down to do such a large project. And then it came down to 3, and 3 then were asked to submit proposals.
Okay,
so
you've done
that correctly then. So
basically, we stop right here. I'm going to ask. Hang on just a second, Mike. I'm going to ask that we stop here because I am adamant that we move forward and we not talk about what happened in the past. We all understand that we need to rectify the situation. We will submit.
Okay, now
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, okay, all right. So basically the RFQ process. Now, did you post publicly on the paper something that here is the 3 pre-qualified firms? Was that posted publicly?
Yes.
Okay, all right, you're good. Okay, you're good there. Now.
Yeah, but they weren't all the qualified firms. But they weren't all the qualified.
No.
Right.
No. Here's what we got to do here. Remember this. With an RFQ, you basically pre-qualify firms. So if you had 42 firms, and of the 42, you only had 3 that pre-qualified. It is a courtesy. It's not a mandate. It's a courtesy to basically notify the firms that didn't pre-qualify. He did not pre-qualify.
But
what you need to do is basically publish publicly, here's the 3 pre-qualified firms. If you've done that, then you basically done anything good.
So, but
Yeah.
Mike, here's the deal. Here's the deal. There were firms that were qualified that were not offered the ability to submit a proposal. And so here's what I'm saying.
Explain that to here, let me explain something. You put an RFQ out.
Right.
The RFQ was put out publicly.
Yes.
It is up to these offers to basically submit to the city. Here is our proposal right there.
No, but an RFQ is not a proposal. An RFQ
No.
is
I'm
just
the
a list of
RFQ. The
qualifications.
RFQ. No. Right now, you're saying that basically. I don't. You kind of lose me right here. When I put an RFQ out, I basically get proposals in. People open my website up and look at the paper. They'll submit proposals in right there.
No, they don't submit
Then
a
we'll
proposal.
look
They
at
submit a list of their qualifications.
Okay,
And
right.
then-
I'm saying it's right.
Okay.
Okay,
They
so
submit a list.
I'll call them.
Can I jump in real quick? I don't know if this will help or not, but my understanding of it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that the committee was selected for specific reasons. And so the committee on the project looked at all 40, I think it was 45 or 42 of the candidates, artists that submitted to see what their qualifications are. From that amount, I think they narrowed it down to, I think, 9 or something like this. Genevieve will know more about the actual details, but this is a summary of what I understand. Then from the 9, the committee, not us, not the commission, but the committee decided on the 3. And there was a lot of feedback with regards to one of the artists, because one of the other artists was going to bring their own money in, which is not restricted. Anybody can have a donor. Anybody can. I think that's allowed.
But Krista, it
but
may be
there were
allowed, but that's not the way we would write a contract. Because then
Hold
what
on,
would
let me
happen
just finish
is
what. Right.
we would
Let me
not-
just finish
we would
what I
not
was
own
going
the
to say.
artwork. Okay, go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Let me
finish.
just finish what I was going to say. So this might help. This might help him understand. So from that point, the committee then picked the 3, and it made it to the papers, stating what the 3 were, and then comments started coming in, and we also asked for comments through the Art and Public Places Commission. So please correct me if that of the process, if that's different. But as far as
That's correct.
That is different. No.
Yeah,
That
okay.
is different. That is different. Hang on a second. That is
It
different.
is not
You are
different. That is
no,
how the
you are
process happened.
misunderstood. You are misunderstood. You are misunderstanding, Krista. Here's the deal. There was a review committee. That committee did not review all 42 proposals. The committee never had a meeting. Some people reviewed some people reviewed none. Some people reviewed some that they were assigned, and some people, and then there were.
That's not true.
No, that is not true, Lynn.
That's not true.
You are not being factual. Please stop.
I'm only going by what I saw in the portal.
Okay.
And there was
That's not true.
Hang on. Let me finish.
Not true.
There was.
Let her finish, please.
It's not true.
It may not be, you may not see it as true, but I'm telling you what I saw proof of. So I went into the portal. I looked at each of the proposals. There were some that were ranked, or not ranked, but scored. But there was no score sheet. No one has been able to give me a score sheet. So if there was a score sheet, I haven't seen it. Right?
Lynn's got a point. Lynn's got a point. Yeah.
Right. But when you go into the portal, you will see where all the applications are. You will see that not all of them were reviewed. And I know and we aren't even clear on who the review committee was, actually, because some of them were reviewed by people at the Arts Council and they weren't on the review committee. So
Lynn, can I add something here? No. Lynn, can I add something? Let me add something real quick.
Here's what I'm going to say, Mike, but let me just finish this last statement. There is so much confusion around this. It is not fair to the artists. It's not fair to the community. It's not fair to our reputation as a commission. I have read all of the responses, all of the comments from the community. I read every
Okay.
single one of them. And our reputation
Let me,
at risk.
yeah, let me start up. I'll tell you what, let me go through an RFQ process. Here's the way the processes work. When we put an RFQ out, we get these proposal offers in. Every one I get gets logged in the system. If I get 5, I log in the system. If I get 10, I log in the system. So what we need to look at, we need to find, do we have a log of the I'm going to say all the proposals received by all the artists? Do we have
We
that?
do. We do.
Okay. All right, you got to log that. Okay. Now the second thing is, Lynn brought a good point up. Was each proposal reviewed and a score sheet established? We should have a list of all 42 of these artists with a score on it. Do we have a score, I call a round one score sheet? Do we have a score sheet?
We do not have a score sheet from each of the hang on a second. We do not have score sheets. I have not seen score sheets. So,
Okay.
the other issue is that every member of the review committee did not review all of the proposals.
That is not true.
Okay.
That is not-
It is true,
not
David.
true.
It is
I would-
true.
I would
It
like
is
to have the
true.
floor,
It is
please, so I
true.
may be able to straighten the record and tell
You
the
can't
process.
straighten the record, Genevieve. I'm
Let
sorry.
her speak.
I'm sorry. You cannot straighten the
Lynn,
record.
excuse
I
me.
am telling you facts. Everyone
You
on
are-
that review
you're-
committee did
No.
not review all 42
Lynn,
proposals.
You are distorting the information. Please
I'm not
let me.
distorting anything. I am giving
Lynn?
you facts.
Lynn, if you want to secure our reputation, you need to get the information straight, and please let me deliver it.
Well,
David,
you can't deliver it because you can't speak for everyone on the review committee. You can only speak, and I have talked to everyone on that review committee, and I
Yeah.
know that they all did not review all 42. I know that for
no. So can I please have the floor?
sure.
Thank you. Okay, uninterrupted, please. So we introduced the RFQ to the commission as a whole. We introduced the process as a whole. It is all during the live public recorded meetings. It was reviewed by council. There were some corrections made to it. It was delivered by a third party, which was the Arts Council, in order to run the administration of it. That is why Trisha, who is on the Arts Council, is shown as a reviewer because she took in the applications. She put them into submittable to make sure that everything was there. She's the one who did the correspondence. She had access to them. Was she on the review committee? No, because they are an unbiased, non-voting third party. We did it that way to keep it transparent and clear and unbiased. We had a third party run the administration of it, so it couldn't be conflated into something that it's not. From those 42, hold on. From those 42 individual applications that they sent in for the request for qualifications, it wasn't a request for proposals. We weren't looking at proposals and artwork only if it was their past artwork. It was a request for qualifications. During the meetings and during the development of the RFQ, it was decided that the 3 of us from the commission would go through the initial applicants. Don't shake your head, Lynn. Let me finish, please. David, Joe, and I went through the 42, all of them, and voted for the ones that we thought were qualified to move forward to the final round with the whole selection committee. We did that process. It brought it down to 9. Those 9 were presented to the whole selection committee, which is outlined in the RFQ who it would be. It was a member from the Arts District. It was a member of the community. It was the vice chair of the Arts and Public Places. It was the secretary of the Arts and Public Places. It was the chair of the Arts and Public Places. And it was the Ward 1 representative of Arts and Public Places. Because of the fact that I held 2 positions outlined in there, we had 5 members for the voting of the final selection of the 9. It is scored everybody had one vote. You could go in and vote for the
Right.
one that you thought was most qualified to bring it down to 3, and the 3 would be presented to the commission. That is the score. There are results of the score. I can get them to you. I didn't know you had a problem getting them. I don't know why. The Arts Council
Genevieve,
has a
I am
problem.
going-
Uninterrupted, please, I asked. I will
I'm
get
gonna
you,
stop. No, I'm gonna stop
I
you
will
right
get you
there.
the score.
No, I'm
No,
gonna stop
I
you.
have the
Genevieve, you
floor.
no longer
You
have
granted the floor to
I
me.
am the
Genevieve.
chair.
We need
You
to
no
set,
longer have the floor, Genevieve.
we need to set the record straight. You are
floor.
distorting the facts, and this is
I
how.
am not distorting anything,
So-
Genevieve. Do not call me a liar. You do not have the floor. You do not have
Lynn,
the
Lynn, hey, hold
I
up.
am
Hold,
insistent.
hold up. Look,
I am
from a
insistent.
legal, Lynn,
I am insistent.
Lynn,
that
I'm
we-
interrupting just shush for a second.
Ashley.
From a
and-
legal perspective, we need to have everybody say their full piece uninterrupted on the record. That was the whole point of this meeting.
But
If
Ashley-
stop. If
No,
you
don't
keep,
talk to me like
Lynn,
that. Don't talk to me
please
like
stop.
that.
Lynn, please stop.
Lynn,
You're
Lynn,
being
Lynn,
very
Lynn,
rude,
please, Lynn,
okay?
Lynn.
You need, the whole point of this meeting was that everybody needs to be able to say the full thing on the record so that everything is transparent. If you keep cutting people off, then the only side that is getting on the record is yours, which is a valid point, but it's not the only side. So please let her finish her piece. Then it's back to you and you can control how the floor goes forward. But from a legal perspective, if you're cutting people off when you're trying to be transparent, you're not getting the transparency.
Okay.
Okay? That's my 5 cents.
I hear you, Ashley. Hang on a second. I hear you. And I understand you completely. And I will let her have the floor. But here's what I'm going to say. We have been on here for an hour. I asked in the very beginning that the commissioners look forward and not backward. And I am going to say that again. We need to look forward in this process and not look backwards. We know
Lynn,
that
can I
there
ask
are
something?
a
What-
number of challenges with the process. And so we need to move
Lynn, can I
forward.
ask something? Do
I
we
will
have,
allow
do we
Genevieve
have,
to have her piece. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
You have to wait.
Lynn,
till-
Lynn, can I ask something? Do we have documentation to go forward? Do we have documentation that has the scoring?
No, we do not.
Basically,
Yes,
okay,
I,
do not.
how do we,
We
Yes.
do not have.
This is
Hang on a second.
Krista.
Hang on
I'm
a
going to
second.
interject right now and just ask. I think Ashley, if I heard you correctly, I've been in listen mode. Ashley has stated that she wanted Genevieve to
I'm
continue
gonna-
on the floor. And Lynn, hold on, let me finish. And the reason why I think this is important, I know we want to move forward. A lot of people want to move forward. I want to move forward in this meeting, but I do not think that this is helpful if we hold back. If people want to come on and listen to this process, there was a lot of misunderstanding from people from outside of how this process happened. And there was, I think, a good explanation for why things happened. And I think everything was done above board on it. And if you just let Genevieve explain it as to where we were before so that we can have a good understanding, and then we as a collective commission can make a decision as to what we're going to do going forward. I know, Lynn, I get the gist of what you want to do going forward, and I appreciate your opinion on this. I appreciate everybody's opinion on this. I am here for my ward. I am here for the city. I'm here for all of you, but I'm here for the city and I'm here for my ward. And I want my ward, if anybody from my ward wants to be able to get the full story of how this all happened, I would like to hear it from Genevieve. So Genevieve, will you please go forward? Ashley, Lynn, I hope you will let her
I'm
finish
sorry,
what
Krista,
she wants to say.
you do not have the ability to call for someone. You do not have the ability to call for someone to speak. I am the chair. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. So, Genevieve, you may.
Don't be sorry. It's just Ashley said that. Ashley said
I understand what
Genevieve
Ashley
can have
said,
the floor.
and I am calling on Genevieve, but you cannot call on people. You cannot do that. You cannot ask someone to come to the floor.
can I ask something here, guys?
Genevieve, please finish your story.
Mike, did you have a question for me or do you want me to
Yeah,
continue?
yeah. Let's move forward. Let me ask this now. Do you have the scoring for your round one? And
Yes.
can you provide
Yes.
that?
Seen it.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
I
That's
can
good.
provide
That's a
that,
good right
yes.
there. Okay. Okay. Now, the way you done. Let me ask you this: when you've done your scoring, I read through the RFP. Are you basically? Do you have how many criteria do you have on your scoring? Do you have 4 criteria, 1 criteria?
It was
Let's
yes,
say you have 4
it was,
criteria.
it was a simple yes or no. There was no
Okay.
sliding scale scoring, whatever. It was a yes or a no.
Okay. Okay. So yes or no, you gave the thumbs up or thumbs down. So how many rounds of scoring did you do? 1 round or 2 rounds of scoring?
So we
You
did,
go ahead.
the initial round brought it from 42 to 9. And then there was a second
Okay.
round that brought it from 9 to 3.
Okay. All right. Good. And it basically was it was a yes or no. Now look at the RFQ. We did not establish a sliding scale like from 0 to 100 on the. So okay. So I think you're okay right there. All right. So basically, you had 3 firms that you guys shortlisted, which you can provide scoring on.
Yes, we can get that. Yes.
Okay, good. All right, we'll go get that. We'll go next step here. Now,
Can we
those
see it
3
before
firms
the
you
end
have
of
right
this
now.
meeting? Can you produce it before the end
I
of the
can
meeting?
see if I can get it. I am not sure if I can, but I did have access to all of the voting. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, now my next question is, once you've got those 3, do we presently have 3 shortlisted firms right now as the committee agrees on?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you have 3 shortlisted firms that the committee agrees on in your consensus scoring?
For the
Or did
selection,
the one drop out? Yes,
well, the selection committee did choose 3, and then
Okay.
and a request for proposal was sent to those 3. Of those 3, yes,
Okay.
one has sent us a letter and asked to remove their application and proposal.
Okay, so what I would do next is go back to your scoring and look at the remaining 5 and see which one of the remaining 5 that you guys would put in as an alternate.
So
You follow
Mike,
me?
here's my question. Where's the RFP? If they were sent a request for proposal, have we seen that? Do you have a
I haven't
copy
seen
of,
RFP yet.
do you have a copy of that? Can you
The
share?
the letter came from the Arts
Yeah.
Council to those
No,
who
but
were
you said a
selected.
request for proposal. So
For
not
their
a letter, but a
proposals.
request for proposal.
They asked for their proposals. The Arts Council sent a letter to them asking for them to submit proposals
But
for us to review.
But if it was a request for
What-
proposal, then it would have needed to have been reviewed by this body.
Well, maybe my
Correct.
terminology is incorrect, but it was a letter to ask them to submit their proposals. That's what it was.
Yeah, but that's not a request
Okay,
for
what
proposal.
Ashley's
Okay, so then my
Because
no,
the
what
terminology.
Ashley's saying, Ashley's correct. Right.
Okay, so my terminology
correct.
is incorrect.
No, this is Lynn.
Yeah,
Mike.
Ashley is
It's Lynn.
correct. Yeah, what Ashley's saying right now, once you do an RFQ, it's a 2-step process. You pre-qualify. Then you give them a formal request for proposal. And they submit on it there. You can't just send a letter because legal needs to look at that before it's been sent out.
Okay. And that was from the Arts Council. I don't.
Yeah, Ashley's correct again. She's correct on that there.
Well,
So
that's
what we
the,
should have done.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mike, that was not Ashley speaking, that was Lynn speaking.
I mean, okay, yeah. I'm sorry. What I would do was an RFQ is a 2-step process. You could either do an IFB or an RFP. So once you shortlisted those firms, you pre-qualified them. That means they can receive an IFB or an RFP. So what should have happened, we should have wrote a formal RFP up and basically go more in the weeds than what we're looking for. And then those firms will submit on an RFP right there, and you score. You score them, and then select your finalist off of that right there.
okay.
I think you've done everything correctly up to that point. I think you scored them. You basically got a short list. You scored them. It may not be the cleanest way to do it, but you gave them basically a yay or nay vote, and But what I would have done is put a formal RFP together, send it to those 3 firms right there.
Okay. So the, okay,
I think at this point, what I would defer this to right now. This is my opinion. I think I would start over. Let's, write an RFQ, and let's be really, really, I'm going to say focused on how we do the RFQ. Let's score everything. Let's maintain the score sheets. And then when you get your consensus scoring, we'll basically get the short list, publish a short list on the city website and on emma.gov. Notify the shortlisted firms, send an RFP to them, and basically let them give you a proposal on it.
Thank you, Mike. So, let's go ahead and move forward now to, yes, Barbara.
Thank you, Lynn. Yes, I had a question. One withdrew from the 3 finalists. One was determined to be disqualified for the geographic region. Now, the one other remaining finalist, will that person remain as part of the pool, or does that person have to reapply?
Yeah, so
Just hold
You
on, to
get to reapply.
clarify, technically one has not been disqualified yet. There has just been a conversation about it.
Okay, so then then 2, let's say one withdrew themselves, then there are 2 of the finalists left. Would they have to reapply? That's my question.
yes, they would have to respond to the request for qualifications and then respond to the new proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Now, let me add this here. Let's say, okay, you've shortlisted 3 firms right now. Now, what we could do is go ahead and write an RFP and send an RFP to your 3 qualified firms. I've not contacted anyone that are qualified or disqualified. So basically, the 3 firms you have right now, if the paper published them, and I have not published them, on the Emma or the city of Annapolis site. If you want to go forward with this, let's do it. Let's write an RFP up, and you guys determine.
We're still skipping a step
I'm
there
sorry.
because we still have not qualified. The RFP should go to all the qualified respondents, not just the 3.
No. The RFP will go to the pre-qualified. You've done the RFQ. You basically nailed on an RFQ. You went down to 3 firms. That means those 3 firms can get advanced and receive an RFP.
But Mike, if it's an RFQ, everyone who is qualified should be able to submit a proposal. Is that correct?
Yeah.
No.
No. Let me back up. When you do an RFQ, you're pre-qualifying firms to go to the next step. You're
Right.
shortlisting firms. Okay, let me give you an example. So you had 42 proposals. The committee went through each proposal. They basically went down to 3 firms that they felt were qualified. Those 3 firms can receive the RFP. Because you've already pre-qualified, you scored.
But there was no scoring, and there was no list of qualifications.
Yeah. I think you guys. Am I correct to hear that the committee did go through these, and basically you gave them a yay or nay, up or down?
They just
That's
gave them a
correct.
yay or nay. They just
was a
voted
yes or
yes
no
or
vote.
no. We like this
Okay.
firm or we don't like
Now,
this firm.
Okay,
It was
let
not
me
based on
ask you, Lynn.
qualifications. Huh?
Okay, now, when the RFQ was written, I looked at the RFQ. You did not have a scale in the RFQ. So I need to look at the RFQ to see how you guys define on who would be qualified, not qualified. Now, if there was a scale in that RFQ, you'd assign a numerical value to it. But when the RFQ was written, I need to look at it real closely. May ask me to look at it real closely to see how you pre-qualified this, see how it's been defined in it.
We're not.
when I write an RFQ, what I do is I have maybe 4 or 5 factors, and I'll assign a numerical value to that there. And then I'll have a cutoff point of about 70 would be the cutoff point. Now, with something like this, it's a little bit subjective. Let's look at the RFQ you've written to see how that was basically how we arrived at the shortest terms. If it's defined in there basically on a yay or nay, then that was her 5 right there.
So this is actually Mike. So my memory of the RFQ serves is that they did not do a sliding scale. Instead, they set up a selection committee of those 5 people,
Okay.
and the 5 people did the yay or nay, and that was how it got
Right.
down.
I think we'll be fine with that there. As long as you got to define it, I think
I
we're
mean,
fine with that, right?
But that's
Yeah, so
but that's not what
Lynn's
happened.
saying,
That's not
hold
what
on a
happened.
second, Lynn. So Lynn is saying that if they met the basic qualifications, they should have all got the proposal, but the RFQ had another step beyond the basic qualifications, what got down to 9. It had that selection committee.
Mhm.
And so the election committee took the 9 that met the basic qualifications, and they did do a vote, not a sliding vote, just a yay or nay
Okay.
vote. And that was the final step to get it brought down.
But-
That's how the RFQ was written. It was written as a 2-piece,
Okay.
and then
Right,
the
but-
final 3 were the ones that got the proposals. Now,
But
I
Ashley,
realize,
here's the problem. The review committee did not review the proposals.
well, I mean, I
Well, there was
understand what you're
supposed to be-
saying, Lynn,
There were
but
supposed to be 5 people to review the proposals, and all 5 people did not review the proposals, all of the proposals.
you weren't.
Okay, do we have
but Lynn,
that?
you weren't part of this. So you're going.
Well, I know, but I've talked to the other members of the review committee.
You didn't talk to me, so, and that's
Well,
not,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't
It-
matter whether I talk to you. I
It-
talked to
I-
other members of the review
I
committee,
think for
and they
purposes
did
of
not,
this,
they did not review them.
for purpose
So-
of this is all sort of third-party hearsay, okay? Because they're not
No, it's
actually
not-
here.
oh,
They're not
well,
speaking for
okay.
themselves.
it-
I
So I
heard,
think
one of
we-
them told me.
Jim,
Again, they're not here. They're not speaking for themselves. So we're hearing it through someone else, which may be true or not. But what I think we actually need to get is to get the scoring sheets that Genevieve says that she can provide. She can provide those, then we can see. That would be the most legally sound basis rather
It's-
than I heard it from here. The other option would be to get all the reviewers to sit down with like me and Mike and procurement and have this conversation about what actually happened. Those would be the best ways to do it. Either one-on-ones with the people who were actually involved and or the score sheets.
yep, and we can do that. But the way that the RFQ was written was not that the selection committee would review the final 3 proposals. It was that the public and the commission as a whole would review the final 3 proposals, and the final 3 entities that had the proposals would present them to the commission during a public meeting. That's how the RFQ is written. It wasn't up to the selection committee to review the final 3 proposals and approve or disapprove them because the commission wanted to have that ability to do that themselves.
Can you read for me in the RFQ where it says that?
I don't have it pulled up, but it was discussed at the meetings that
I
was going
do,
to be
and
the
it doesn't.
procedure.
It is in the folder that I sent today. So
Lynn,
it
I
is in
know, I
folder.
don't have it pulled up right at the moment. If you
Okay,
give
well,
me-
what I will say is that is not what is in the RFQ. That's what I'm gonna say. That's why I'm
It says,
asking you to read
it says the selection committee is going to review the 3 proposals? I don't think so.
Is it possible to move on? Are we gonna just do this all
I'm
night?
trying, David. I'm trying. We really need to move forward.
Can we
Right,
do
so
that?
I guess
Is
the
that
question
possible?
does anyone have any questions, or can Lynn move this to some sort
I
of?
do. I
vote?
still have a question for Mike regarding some
I think-
information that he sent us.
And the lady here has her hand up too as well.
And so
I'm
does
sorry, I don't know her-
Joan.
Joan,
sorry.
Joan, yeah, the new. Go
Can
ahead.
okay.
Go ahead, Genevieve.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Mike-
Genevieve.
My question to you, Mike, was that you also stated in regards to qualifying the applicants that legally we can't put a geographical restriction on applicants, that we're supposed to keep it open and free and allow anybody to apply.
Okay, let me rephrase. Let me tell you what, I'm very risk averse on that there, and basically my past practice in dealing with public funding, everything else, that I was restricted from putting any language on geographical preferences. Now, with that being said, that basically is going to be up to the Office of Law, and I'm like I said, I'm very risk averse. If the Office of Law is okay with basically restricting that to a certain geographical area, then I'm okay with it. It's a practice I don't like to practice because I deal with a lot of different things, and this may be something a little bit differently that I've dealt with before. But again, I'm not going to advocate for it, and I'm not going to go against it. That's going to be up to the Office of Law on that.
Okay, I have pulled up the RFQ, and under the artist selection process, a selection committee will review the initial proposals. Members of the panel include AIPPC chair, vice chair, secretary, and the Ward 1 representative, and a representative from the Arts District. So it said that the entire selection committee was to review the initial proposals. That did not happen.
Then can I add something now?
But if you read further down, it states that they will present those proposals. So I think that's actually
But they didn't review them, Genevieve. It
there's
says
a
that
verbiage,
the
there's
entire
a verbiage
commission,
issue
the entire
in there.
committee would review them. It did not happen.
Okay, pardon me, but there's a verbiage issue in there. It should have said initial applications because it was not the intent. If you go back
Well-
and may I finish, please? Thank you. If you go back and you watch the
I really
meetings,
wish you'd stop.
Jim, please. If you
No,
go back-
please, I really think it's time. to let
because
other
the
people-
record needs to be straightened out here because there's a lot of misinformation floating around. I think it's a verbiage issue in the
It's
RFQ
really
because
creative.
Genevieve, a verbiage issue, you
Okay,
have
so-
to go with what is written there.
okay, listen,
RFQ is a legal
Lynn,
document. And
I
what the
understand, but Lynn,
says-
when we discussed it at the other meetings,
but
was
it doesn't matter what you discussed. If it was
does,
not
it
written,
does because it's a public meeting and it was a decision made by the whole commission that it would be the commission that reviewed the proposals, the final 3 proposals, and had presentations, and they would be the deciding factor on the final 3 proposals. It wasn't the selection committee that would be the factor. So this was in discussion. So this is an error in the RFQ. However, I will state on the record that, and Lynn should know this, that when you go back and look at those final 3 applicants, that the proposals that they submitted are attached to them, and everybody did have access to them. So yes, they did see the proposals. We weren't supposed to vote based on the proposals during that 9-3. We were supposed to vote based on qualifications, but the proposals were attached. So they did review them. They had access to them.
So you do have documentation that, the committee as a consensus looked at all 42 and you basically went from 9 down to 3. You have that documentation.
Yes, you can see who reviewed the
Okay, good. Okay,
applications.
that's
You
good
can
to
see
know.
who voted on them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But shouldn't the commission have seen that documentation?
Well,
Jim, I don't
when
know
you
if the
do a
commission,
solicitation,
Not
I
that
don't know if the commission should
Let
have
me
seen the
say-
I
documentation.
think we should move on. And
But the
my
submi-
concern,
but the
my
sh-
concern is I could go into several things in here and I really don't choose to spar with Genevieve. I've had
And-
enough of that over the past 2 years. My concern is really that, one of the fundamental issues that we fail on with this whole process was that we didn't involve collaboration with the public. And that collaboration should have included the arts community, the big museums and art centers like Maryland Hall, Mitchell Gallery, the Banneker Douglas Museum, who had a person on the committee. and also the Maritime Museum. And there may be one I missed, the Children's Museum for that matter. But we should have had more people from the arts community feeding into this process what they felt the commission should be looking for. But we also neglected Ward 2. We didn't talk to anybody in Ward 2. We didn't talk to anybody in Ward 1. We didn't have their representation. And they were originally expected to be on the committee that made the selection. Back in June, we did include 7 people on the selection committee. But over the past, oh, I can show it to you right now. Stop shaking your head, Genevieve.
It
Here
says
are the
6.
minutes from
Jim,
June
can I just stop?
27.
Can I
You
just,
did that.
can I
There's
just,
6
Jim, can,
No,
people.
I want to just
Genevieve,
finish
hang
my
on, hang on.
comment.
Jim, can I
It's-
just stop you? And so
Yes,
that,
ma'am.
and ask
I don't
that
want to
we-
go back over this. I
Right,
really-
right. That we continue to move forward. But I do want to recognize Joan Brady, who is the newest
Yes.
member of the commission, and she has had her hand up for a very long time. So Joan, please.
Hi, everyone. Sorry to meet you under these circumstances. I'm soon to be a new member as soon as the weather clears and I can get sworn in. That was postponed as of yesterday. 2 quick questions. One is, what were the criteria used from the point where there were 9 applicants narrowed down? What were the criteria used between the 9 and to get to the 3? Were there any proposals of aesthetics, or was this all the qualification? You know, how did you determine whose proposal you wanted to see? And I'm sorry I don't know that information because I'm so new. And then B, let's say you decide to go with the current iteration of the RFP. Is there even funding for that? Because I think I heard at the beginning of the meeting, there might not even be funding to make this happen. So just 2 quick questions, and hi, and hope to, yeah.
Okay,
all.
Joan. So
Thanks.
Joan, the funding is not available. We have not procured we have not encumbered the funding. We have encumbered a portion of the funding, but we have not encumbered the funding.
At the
And
November.
for us
So then
to
how
pay-
would we
Reinforce
offer?
that. At the November 28th meeting of the commission, I suggested that we needed to put an additional $50,000 aside to the amount that we had already put. And that was rejected by the chair at that time.
There was no motion.
Excuse
on
me,
the
it was
floor for
rejected
that.
by
There was
Genevieve
no motion
the
for
month
that.
before. And I just feel like, you know,
There was
we've
no
gotten to
motion for
this-
that.
We've gotten
Okay,
to
please-
this constant
how-
problem.
I want
How
to
would-
answer Joan's questions, Jim.
Yes.
I
if you
just
don't
want to
mind.
ask how we would offer a contract to anyone not having the funding. Like, even if we narrow it down to the 2 remaining ones,
Got it.
how could that,
So
they be
The
awarded?
RFQ states that we had set aside $50,000, which we did by a vote. And then it said that it set a budget of 150, possibly up to 300, but it would have to be, and we were very clear about this, that the funds would have to come from grants, public funding, or other sources. We don't even know at this point, we're ahead of the game here, what the sculpture will cost us as a commission because we haven't selected anybody yet. So we don't know how much money we have to raise. We don't know what grants we will have to apply for. In the meantime, Joe and Lynn have been looking for grants that we can be eligible for. The Arts Council as well was looking for grants that we could be eligible for. We do have funds that are lucrative in our commission budget currently that we could allocate more towards this if we so chose. And if there was a motion on the floor and it was seconded, as chair, you don't get to shoot down motions all on your own, Jim, but thank you for that.
That's
It is by the commission vote as a whole. You make a motion, somebody seconds it. So that's the answers to that.
Okay, let's move forward.
Then the criteria question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did I
Go
miss
ahead.
that?
Sorry, yes.
No. So there
Yeah.
wasn't any criteria to move from the 42 to the 9.
There was
no-
criteria. So the
Where is
criteria
it?
was
Where's
based
the
on
list?
qualifications
Where's
of
the
the
list?
applicant.
Where's
And
the
whether
list?
they had previous experience doing sculptures of such, whether they already had public art installed, if they could produce a project line and a budget.
And that's the,
Genevieve, are you saying that of the 42 people?
from the 9 to the 3, is that, are
Right.
those the criteria that you
Right.
use? So it's all
Were
for qualification. All right.
Are you saying of the 42, there were 9 that met those qualifications, but they were not invited to submit a proposal?
That they had to prove through whether it was past work, that they had qualifications to produce such a sculpture of this size in a public area, present it following the RFQ and the requirements that were outlined in the RFQ, as well as having the ability to produce a budget and a timeline and a project management guidance with that.
Okay, thank you. Let's move forward. Okay, I am going to, this is what I would like to do. This was the plan. I would like to have the commissioners share their thoughts about what we should do as a next step. It could be to keep what we have. It could be to do something that we haven't discussed yet. I'm going to ask each of the commissioners to speak for 2 minutes. And I'm going to set a timer. And everyone will have 2 minutes to respond. I will not comment until the end. And I will only mention thoughts that have not been presented by anyone else. Okay, so Mr. Secretary, who would be the first person, if we were calling for a vote, who would be the first person to respond?
There's no particular order.
Oh, there isn't any particular order. Oh, okay. So on my screen, I have David first. So David, can you please take your 2 minutes? I'm setting the timer now, and we'd like to hear from you. Thank you. Everyone else, go on mute, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, Madam Chairperson. As I've stated before, in situations like this, I think we should all be advised that there's never going to be there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like it, and you can't please everybody. It's always going to be somebody who doesn't like what we do, who hates things that were terrible. My only concern is reading some of the comments that, I think I just want this piece to represent the people of Annapolis. I don't want it to represent Annapolis as a city, because we're not all sailboats and seafood. We're artists, we're teachers, we're students, we're soccer moms and dads, we're a whole wide range of people. And I just want this piece to represent the people of Annapolis, not Annapolis. We're not sailboats. I don't want to see another sailboat. I'm done. I would like to see something that represents all of us. And we all live in neighborhoods with a vast diversity of people. So I just want to make sure that's represented, whichever direction the group decides to go through. I just want to make sure that train of thought kind of prevails through the whole process. And I'll yield my time to anybody else. I'm done.
All right, that was 52 seconds. So, okay. All righty. Next on the screen, I have Barbara. Go ahead, Barbara. I'll restart the clock.
Thanks, Lynn. To be perfectly honest, I'm a little still confused of what just happened. And I did open up the things that you sent, Lynn, and the things that Genevieve had sent previously. And when we went over the RFQ as a commission, when we all agreed to it a few months ago, I think that was like in June. I am concerned, like David, that whatever is selected represent the people of Annapolis, as opposed to just the businesses or this kind of, I hate to say almost stereotypical view of what Annapolis is, boats, midshipmen, etc. And I'd like more input from the community. And that's why when I looked at some of the comments, I was really concerned, because I think people felt left out. And I think we need to go back, whether it's going back from the very beginning and rewriting the RFQ. We may have to do that, because I just think we need to be transparent. I just think from the comments, a lot of people felt that there wasn't transparency. Whether that was true or not, I think we just need to address that because going forward, we need the public to be on board because we know what happened last time with Shoal. Remember, David? I wasn't on the commission then, but I was following in the paper, and we wanted to avoid that kind of controversy again. We want people
It's
to be
going to
proud
happen
of it.
regardless. I'm sorry, it's going to happen. But I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
well, it's okay, but not as bad as Shoal. I want the majority of the people to look at this and be proud of the decision and proud as a commission that we helped make this happen. That's all I have to say. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, Jim. Go ahead.
I'm not sure you really want to hear my views about it, but the bottom line to me is that our vision was to have a committee select the art at some point. The problem was that the committee was way too small for what we were prepared to ask for. That was one problem. And objections were raised along the way, but they were easily dismissed. And I really feel that people really spoke up with their heart about what they felt about their city and what this circle could mean. The problem is the circle isn't big enough to fulfill David's vision to put everybody in it, but it could be artistically significantly better than what we've seen. And I was disappointed that we never saw the other 42 or the total of 42 proposals so that the commission could look at them. And I understand, Genevieve, please stop that. I understand that, we decided to have a winnowing committee, but it's clear to me that this has been manipulated from the very beginning. And I just feel that it's really, it put us in this position of, having this blow up in our face because the public has spoken. They want art, but they don't want what we spoon-fed them. They want to have some say in the process. And one of the things I did send out to everybody on the commission, except Joan, because I didn't have your email address, was from the National Arts Foundation. And in it, the National Endowment for the Arts. And in it, they gave us 5 lessons of successful public art projects. And the first one is the one that we just missed the boat on. And that was the public comes first in public art.
Okay, Jim, your time's up. Thank you. Thank you. Cynthia, we haven't heard from you at all this evening, so.
Hello, good evening. I just want to say, I want to express my gratitude for all 42 artists that submitted their RFQ. And I want to express gratitude for all the work that the artists put in, the final 3, and really thank them very much for all the work. But I also want to thank the public for taking the time to write their comments and to make a thoughtful comment on the website. That really helps us very much as we move forward. So that's who I want to thank. And I think, we just have to take into consideration the public has spoken.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. Krista.
Yeah, I want to thank every one of the artists that even thought about putting their art forward. There probably were some that did not. And I'll get to that in a minute. But I want to thank all of the artists that cared enough and were interested enough to want to submit. I represent Ward 5, as I've stated before, and I really do want to know what my ward thinks about the process, which leads me to my next point. And that is, well, first, I want to thank the committee that's worked on this. because they took a lot of their time to follow the guidelines that we had offered. But I really do feel that there were a lot of people, including the public, who did not understand the full process. I think many did not understand that the theme was unity, and that played a big part in it. So my comments are that I really want to make sure that we, moving forward, that we make sure that the public understands the process. And I'm not just talking about an article that, you know, another journalist puts in. I mean, I just think the city, the legal office, procurement office, we need to really make sure that everyone understands the process. I want to thank all the comments. We had, I think, 45 pages worth. I want to acknowledge the enthusiasm of many who actually did like the suggestions of the three, some who had a favorite of one or the other. I also want to say that I hope in the future that if an artist is selected, that they keep their art in the process and not withdraw. I was very, very sad to hear that artist wanted to withdraw. So those are my comments. I just think we need a little bit more just transparency here. But I do want to thank everyone who's worked really, really hard on this process. And again, thank you to David and Joe and Genevieve and the committee for all the work that they did on this, and Ashley and the city for, you know, all their feedback through the process to where we are today.
Thank you so much, Krista. Joe, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask Joan to go before you, and then you'll go, and then I can go at the end. But so, Joan, 2 minutes. Thank you.
I don't need 2 minutes to say I'm looking forward to working with everyone, and I think you're all off to a great start, and hopefully I can make some contributions. This is a really exciting project, so to be a part of, and I appreciate being here. Bye. That's all.
Thank you. I didn't even have time to hit the timer. All righty, Joe, go ahead.
I think at this point, it's obvious that we need a reset. And speaking as somebody who was on that committee, we followed the process that was put before us and that we all voted on as a committee. The outcome, however, is that the process did not get us where we wanted. And I would echo Krista, especially there is actually something quite positive in the amount of feedback that we got. And I definitely think there's a way to kind of harness that with an appropriate reset. A lot of what I've heard tonight from the representatives from the city, I think there's more specific guidance we could get in a kind of improved process that can sort of turn this more towards the positive. But right now, I don't necessarily see a way forward with the moment that we're in.
Thank you, Joe. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Genevieve didn't get to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Genevieve. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So this was a full-on process, you know, from the get-go, and everybody was involved. And in fact, we did give it to the public first. I think this might have been a little bit of an error on our side. I think that the public should have been given the presentations from the artists versus just going off of what was published, some flat pictures of the art pieces. Regardless of that, we still did get public participation. The public did come first, even before the commission reviewed the final 3 proposals from the selection committee. We did that because we wanted to open it up to the public to hear their feedback, to make sure that this was a representation of unity for the public, and to find out what our next step should be as far as, qualifying these pieces if they represent unity to Annapolis. Maybe we overstepped ourselves in thinking that we could present unity to Annapolis, because I'm not sure that really happened, but I would like it to happen going forward. I think these artists who did submit should be totally 100% respected and thanked. I don't think that was reflective in what is happening currently. It's really kind of sad to see our city reacting this way to an artist's vision of what unity represents through art. We have to remember that art is subjective to those who are looking at it. It means something different to many people looking at it, and that it is an artistic view of what the RFQ outlined for qualifications, and then what the proposal asked for. There weren't 42 proposals. There were only 3 proposals, and we did present them to the public first. So going forward with the comments that we have, as the Ward 1 Commissioner, I was on the selection committee, and I also sat on there as chair. So representation was there. We are very considerate of what Westgate Circle presents us as obstacles. There's no electrical on Westgate Circle. There's no running water on Westgate Circle. We can't have something that's distractive. We can't have it shiny, reflective. All of these things have to come into consideration when we are looking at the final 3 proposals, whatever those may be going forward, since we had 1 withdraw. But these are other things that maybe we could have had a more in-depth conversation on. We did touch them on past meetings, but I think we're understanding that not everybody is keeping up with our public meetings, even though they're recorded and you can watch them later at your own discretion. As well as not everybody read the RFQ either. So as far as transparency going forward, I'm not sure. I'll take guidance from the city how we can do that. Like, how do we ensure that the public is seeing the RFQs? The RFQ was sent out in June. And then how we can ensure that they're seeing the presentations as well, so they know what is being presented by the artist. They can hear it directly from the artist, what their vision is. And just basically trying to get the art done.
Your time is up. Your time is up.
Thank you.
But thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I'm sorry. I thank you, everyone. I want to thank the Arts Council for their commitment to this process, and for all of the guidance and technical assistance that they provided. I also want to thank the more than 400 City of Annapolis residents who took the time to, most of them were very, very thoughtful responses and comments. So we do thank you. I, as chair, must agree with the procurement officer. And my biggest concern is for the residents of the city of Annapolis to feel a sense of ownership for whatever happens happens at Westgate Circle. So my recommendation is that we do reset, that we begin again. When we begin again, we begin this process in a conversation with the community. It will have to be a facilitated conversation, and people will have several ways to submit their thoughts and their desires and what they would like to see, and we will move from there. Simultaneously, we will need to begin to raise the funds. And so, and I will say that we will say to an artist, and we'll listen to the procurement officer, but my recommendation would be that we say in the very beginning, this is how much money we have. This is how much money you have to work with. Here's the total cost that will be allowed for this project. And so, um, eh, I will, but I will listen. I think we should all listen to the community and hit the reset button, start over. So I will entertain a motion from anyone on the committee to, on the commission, I'm sorry, any one of the commissioners to, on next steps. Thank you.
Well, somebody has to make a motion. I'll make my motion and you can work on that. I suggest that we make this process as transparent as possible, that we spend some time with the public upfront before we draft proposals or RFQs or RFPs or whatever, and that we make sure that we as commissioners have had Mike's advice in front of us about how, about the content of those documents, and Ashley's advice. So I think this is a process that may take several, if not a number of months. And it will take some time to accumulate money. So I don't see it as a short-term process. So my motion is that we table what we have entered into at this point and move on to a new program of developing an art project. And that will probably take us well into the summer, maybe into the fall. And I think that if we plan it and talk about it and collaborate on it, and with the public and with the arts community and the people who are immediately around that circle, who use it every day, everyone should be involved.
Okay.
That's my
Jim,
biggest concern.
can you just restate your motion?
I move that we table the process that we have engaged in and move on to a new project, a new process, and that we develop that over the summer.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Here we go.
I second it.
Thank you, Cynthia. So I'm going to call for are we ready for the question? Okay. And so
Lynn,
I'm
can
going
I
to
say,
call.
Lynn,
Yes, Mike, go ahead.
let me say something real quick, guys.
Oh, we lost him.
Table may
shoot.
have been the wrong word. Maybe cancel and start over. That's probably the right word.
So
Motion's
we
already been seconded for tabled. Point of order.
excuse me. So we have a motion on the floor to table the current process and begin again. It has been moved and seconded. Am I saying that incorrectly? Jim, can you restate your motion again? Thank you.
Do I have the ability to amend that motion
Just-
slightly?
No.
Would you like
No.
would you like me to read what I have summarized?
Yeah, Joe, thank you. That would be great.
Move to table the current process for selecting the Westgate Circle Public Art Project, and I didn't do this exactly right. And the AIPPC Commission will work to develop a new process. I mean, that's pretty general.
Okay,
But
thank you.
that's the essence of what
Yeah,
Jim had.
so that's the motion. That is what is written. That is the motion. It has been properly moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so Joe, can we do a roll call, please?
Sure. And I'm going in the order that they're listed on my screen.
Right.
Lynn,
Aye.
David, David?
Do you hear me?
No, you're on mute.
No, you were muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, no.
Joe, aye. Genevieve,
No.
Jim,
Aye.
Cynthia,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
Carissa,
I abstain.
Joan. Or
I abstain.
actually,
I'm
I'm
not.
sorry. Yes,
I don't have
Sorry.
the authority to vote yet.
yes. So the motion passes.
Thank you all for your attention. There are a number of people watching. And so Cynthia, you have your hand up, Cynthia.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment. And based on a lot of the feedback that we received from the public, several years ago, I don't remember the exact year, but we actually did get a landscape architecture, the best landscape architecture firm in town. They gave us a quote. They did an estimate. They did a diagram of what landscaping would look like with native plants on the circle. So we still have that estimate. It's a few years old, but it was for $20,000, and that's what they came up with. At that time, we did not have the funding, so we didn't go forward with it. But I wanted to just say that we do have a very nice diagram of what it could look like if it was properly landscaped. And I saw that the public was very much in favor of having some native plantings there. It's just a thought we could possibly
Thank you,
move
Cynthia.
forward on that.
We will have a formal process where we hear from the public. So everyone who is listening, including the commissioners, and all of the residents of the city of Annapolis who are listening, we will have a process where we will hear from all of you, all of those who are concerned. You may not be happy with what no one's going. There's no way we're going to have whatever it is. There's no way everyone is going to like it, but hopefully everyone will feel as though they were a part of the process and they were heard.
Amen.
Genevieve.
I have a question whenever you can recognize me.
Okay, Genevieve had her hand up, and then we'll come to you, Chris.
Yep.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
I want to make sure that we put on record the definition of table, because it can mean that we're postponing or that we're canceling or that we are going to continue to discuss further. So
As the maker of the motion, my intention was to cancel.
I just wanted to make sure that we define that properly so the public understands what that was.
Thank you. Krista.
Yeah, I had a question. How will we be following up? Will Ashley and procurement be sending letters to the artists involved and to the committee members? Or I think there should be something that should go out to them. How will we be handling that?
That's a good point, Krista. So yes, I'll work with the procurement officer and the Office of Law to develop a letter, and then I will send it to all of the commissioners so you all can review and comment. And then we will proceed with sending it to all of the artists. Okay, but
okay, great. And
so we'll try to do that, Krista. We'll try to get that together between now and our next meeting, which is January 30, and maybe we can walk through it at our meeting, and then you all will have time to comment after. Okay?
Okay.
Is anyone else? Krista, was that your last thought? I thought you were about to...
Yeah, I had one other question, and that was if Ashley's still on the phone, are we good with regards to how that motion was listed, or do we need to have a clarification motion, or do you think everything's okay with that? I sort of agree with with Genevieve that the motion was not as clear of a motion. But if Ashley's okay with it and we're good to go, then I'm fine.
So from my perspective, what I would like to do is I think we get the general gist that at the very least it's been postponed. I think I'd like to work on a letter, and then I would like to come back to you at your next meeting, as Lynn had suggested, to make sure that whatever letter we send out captures the intent.
Beautiful. That's perfect. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you to everyone at the city, and of course to the procurement officer that's here today, Mike. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to say one more last thank you. I also want to thank the finance the finance director and the deputy finance director, because they also were very helpful in this process. So thank you all. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before we do that, I just wanted to say thank you, Lynn. You have steered us through a really difficult time for this commission, and I appreciate the way you've conducted it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I just got a text message from someone saying that they are very disappointed. And I will say that they are disappointed in the AIPPC. And I hope that, and I am sorry that this has had to happen this way, and that this conversation went the way that it did. But I can assure you that as we move forward, we will respect the wishes and the desires of the residents of the city of Annapolis. And we certainly welcome your ideas and your thoughts on how we make this work. It is the gateway to our city, and everyone who comes to our city basically drives by it. And that is, those are all the people who live at Park Place. Those are all the legislators that stay at the Westin for 90 days a year. It's everyone who comes to visit our city. It's all of us who drive up and down West Street almost all day, almost at least once a day, every day. And so we want the gateway to our city to be representative, as David had said, of all of the people of the city of Annapolis. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All righty. I don't think we
Second.
No, I make a
Second.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All righty, all in favor of the motion to adjourn?
Aye.
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 Bye.
Thank you, everyone. And we will all talk soon.